So in mid-2019, my good friend and co-founder Kashish and I thought it would be super cool to start a travel company that basically automated all the not so fun logistical parts of business travel. Fast forward 8 or 9 months, we had done YC, we had raised a seed round, but COVID struck, which was not something that anyone could expect, and that basically killed the entire travel industry. Our company, Carry Technologies, was no longer viable, and we were stuck scrambling, trying to figure out how we could keep our company alive. At this point, we realized we needed to develop a new product and a new business model, and honestly, jump into a totally new industry. So what did we do? Well, I guess for some general context, at this point, my co-founders and I were living in a hacker house. So it was like a 10-bedroom hacker house in San Francisco that we each lived in. One of my co-founders now, Josh, actually lived in a closet for some time. So it was a sort of funny place altogether. And we really just locked ourselves in a room. It was my bedroom that became the office because we couldn't use our living room office as all our roommates started to work from home during COVID, when everyone used to go to the office and now started working from home. So we just locked ourselves in my bedroom, which became our office for the startup. It had a few beds and a few desks in it, and just tossed around a bunch of different ideas. The first thing we did is start thinking about problems we had while we were building Carry Travel, as well as problems we just saw in some of our past jobs and experiences. One of the problems we saw was that we felt like giving support to really high value customers, especially in B2B, was difficult, and there weren't really good platforms built for this. There was this huge trend happening at the time where enterprise B2B companies were starting to give support over Slack. So we decided to build this cool support tool, kind of like Zendesk or Intercom, that actually allows you to communicate with your customers in more quote unquote high touch ways, which, leads into the name high touch later, like Slack or Microsoft Teams. So one thing that we noticed was when we were trying to sell this thing, a lot of people were actually more excited by this aspect of the support platform that we built rather than the support platform itself. And that aspect was this awesome sidebar inside of the support platform that showed you everything about your customer. We went really over the top with this feature where you could start pulling data from production databases and show, the customer's latest usage in your product. And customers were really obsessed with that sidebar. And when we asked them, what are some of their biggest challenges, they just mentioned that a big challenge they have is actually just viewing all the data about a customer in one place. So we decided to take that sidebar out and scrap the support idea and try to turn that into a business by itself. This tool that allowed you to see everything about your customers in one place. And as we worked with customers more and more and more, a few things kept coming up as feedback. One of the feedback that we heard from customers over and over was that they didn't want to go through this sort of laborious process inside of setting up High Touch to get all your data from different places into High Touch. What a few customers actually told us is hey, I've already defined these formulas and golden attributes of a customer inside of tools like Looker. Or one of our more cutting edge customers actually told us, I already defined this in dbt. Maybe this idea of a data warehouse thing is something we need to plug into customer app that we're building. Another feedback that we got from customers is, hey, I don't really want your app to be like a separate dashboard that I have to go to see everything I know about my customers. I want it to live inside of the tools that I'm already using across my business, like Salesforce or Gainsight or Zendesk or Slack. And the last piece of feedback we received was that companies didn't just want this sidebar that could allow them to view all the information about their customers when they were doing something in Salesforce or doing something in Zendesk or doing something in their email or one of these SaaS tools. They actually wanted the data to live in those systems of record like Salesforce and Zendesk so that they could also run reports using Salesforce reports feature based on this custom data, or run automation using Marketo's email campaign builder with all this data. We were sort of building this behemoth of a software platform that had all these different features and bells and whistles. And we realized, there's actually a lot of customers that would just buy our software if we help them take data from these data warehouses or tools like Looker or dbt that sit on top of them and bring them into the tools that they already use around the business. And that's where the idea of reverse ETL was born, which was the initial product that got us to millions of dollars of revenue at High Touch and really allowed us to build more and more and become a real company, as some would say. So how did I know that reverse ETL actually had product market fit? Well, there's a few things. We didn't know it initially. We were working on a product. Having a few customers doesn't mean you have the type of product market fit that can make a breakout company or a company that can be sustainably VC backed or eventually have a huge event like an IPO or a meaningful acquisition or exit. Just having a few customers isn't really proof of that. Some of the things that eventually told us as we kept working on reverse ETL that we have product market fit here is, one, just getting a ton of customers on it that really use the product in the same way. And the other thing that kind of stuck out to us about those customers is that they were in a bunch of different industries. Our first customers for the reverse ETL product ranged from a B2B SaaS startup in San Francisco all the way to D2C brands and even a newspaper in Europe. It's like super random. And they were all basically using the product for the same thing, taking data from the data warehouse and moving it into SaaS tools. And a lot of the same SaaS tools like HubSpot and Salesforce and Marketo and Braze for different marketing systems. And that was a good sign, right? If we're able to repeatedly get customers who don't want a behemoth of a software solution, they want something very specific and they want it for a very similar use case. That kind of repeatability told us that there's product market fit here. Because I was at Segment before founding Hightouch, I was an early engineer and product leader there. People often think that, I must have just gotten all the ideas for Hightouch from Segment. And the fact is, yes, we got some of the ideas from our experience at Segment. And because we were in the customer data space before, we were really able to accelerate how quickly we grew at Hightouch and making some of the right decisions based on experience and intuition versus just customer feedback. It was kind of a combination of both. But actually, my experience at Segment before prevented us from stripping down and pivoting to this reverse ETL thing as early, because we thought, maybe reverse ETL is too small or too similar or kind of a feature or similar to what we worked on before. Things that actually told us that reverse ETL was going to be a long-term sustainable business. And I guess I won't say reverse ETL specifically, but this idea of activating the data warehouse or turning the data warehouse into the center of truth across the organization were that the customers changed. There was a customer that was really being underserved that we could focus on. And that was the data team. And we found just a very underserved population that was growing like crazy and whose stack as a whole and way of doing things was being disrupted by companies like Snowflake and BigQuery and Databricks. And then lastly, I would just say was probably more of the revenue and financial metrics. So the fact that we were able to close a lot of customers doing the same thing, grow it hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then millions of revenue within months of working on it, not years. That was really compelling. We started to see a category shape around this in the market where it felt like there was a lot of pent up demand for what we were working on. We got a lot of inbound, which was also very compelling, where customers are literally looking for what you're building and then find you versus having to stuff stuff down their throat, or it feels like the market's sucking the product out of you. And then I would say last but not least, maybe some of the finer metrics, like just the time it took to sell to customers, how easy it was. Some of the deals felt like order taking. So what about some advice for founders that are looking to find product market fit and are still in that 0 to 1 stage of the business? One, read the writing on the wall. I think watch the trends, figure out where the market's headed. Don't work on things that are going against that. Work on things that are, moving with the market. And ideally there's a strong why now for your business. The why now for Hightouch was as simple as data warehouse adoption was going up like crazy. Companies were using these data warehouses for analytics, but it was almost obvious that as companies become more data driven, especially business teams like marketing and sales, they're going to want to use this data for more than analytics. They're going to want to use it to power their whole business operations. The next thing I would say is just learn to fail quickly and learn to seek disvalidation or invalidation. Too many founders are seeking affirmation or confirmation that what they're working on is a good idea. That's a really bad idea. The whole concept is a really bad idea. You don't want to go to people and try to get them to tell you that your startup idea is a good idea. And there's some books and stuff that can help with this. I think there's a popular one called the Mom Test, how to ask good questions to make sure you're actually getting good input on your ideas when you're validating them and not just prompting people to say, yeah, that's a great idea. The other thing there is, I would say, is just ask your customers what's top of mind for them. What are the most important problems that they face right now? If you're focusing on a certain role, like let's say a customer success or support or marketing, you'll see a pattern between what people are saying from company to company. And if what you're building is not solving one of those top of mind big issues, then it might feel like an uphill battle trying to sell that to customers, because you need customers to actually prioritize what you're working on, not for it to just be sort of valuable. Just try to focus on one thing initially, become really good at it. Don't try to be everything for everyone when you're starting your company. It's really important to find a wedge or something that you can simply sell into many customers that looks pretty similar and is highly repeatable. And that was reverse ETL for us. Now we've built this broader platform around helping companies use their data warehouse as the center of customer data across their business. They can, get marketers into the platform and have them start building audiences and understanding how their campaigns are performing and running these personalized journeys across a bunch of different channels. We can power like web personalization and stuff like that off the data warehouse. None of that fancy stuff matters when you're starting. You need to find a wedge. It's really simple and really repeatable and really easy to describe. And that's important at the beginning of the company as well as you scale. And then the last thing I would say is just perseverance and sort of learning to love the process of finding product market fit.